Welcome to the final episode of our first season of Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez. The aim of Broken Silence has always been and will always be to raise awareness and to create a dialogue. Now, although we were slightly apprehensive about discussing some of the issues that we've addressed in Broken Silence, not sure how you would react. However, right from the very first episode, you let us know that you were as ready and excited for this conversation to begin as us. In this final episode, we'll be bringing you highlights from the season gone. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sanyya Gardez. Welcome to Broken Silence. The issue at hand today is racism. Asians started immigrating to the UK over half a century ago, but the issue of racism is still as relevant today. How much progress have we really made, and how much further do we still have to go? Altaf, how do you feel about the issue of racism, and how much progress do you think we've actually made?
I think we've made some progress, and I think the progress we've made should be, documented and is documented, and we should actually look back at it with some kind of joy and happiness in terms of what we've achieved in the last 40 years, because we have achieved a significant amount, but there's still a lot of work to be done in respect to the racism that I think is still inherent within larger organizations and institutions.
Why do you think that there is that inherent racism still there?
I think it's become more acute in the way that it's actually delivered. That now, if you give you an example through HR, if you were to apply for a job, there may be some inherent racism from those on the panel, but they can now justify it and find a method of justification, which means that the racism doesn't come out so much.
So it's just more subtle, but still
it's more subtle. I think if you look at the police force, that's one of the most key areas to look at. If you look at Tariq Ghafoor, and I may actually say something slightly racist here, who some Muslims or some British Asians may consider to be somewhat of a bounty, which is defined as brown on the outside and nice and white on the inside, which is quite a racist term when we actually look at it ourselves. But if you look at his history, he for 40 years he was part of the elite within the country, and after 40 years dedicated time to the police force, he actually called it institutionally
Well, there's
racist.
actually a recent study which studied South Asians from under the age of 34, and it showed that 38% of those didn't feel British at all. And they felt that in order to be British, they had to be a coconut, brown on the outside and white on the inside.
I don't think that's true. I think it's all a personal view, and it's what you feel that you are. I was born and bred in this country. I've been raised here. I've been educated here. So there's no reason why I shouldn't say that I'm not British. I'm a number of things, like I said earlier. I have got an Indian heritage, but first of all, I would say I'm British, and I'm proud to be British. I'm glad that I possess a dual heritage, and I feel blessed that I've got Eastern values as well as Western values, and I can use them appropriately in my day-to-day life.
Have you ever been the target of racism?
I have before, yeah. And the word that nobody has used yet is the term Paki. I was called a Paki, probably the last time I was called a Paki, I was probably like 14 years old. Since then, I don't think that I've ever experienced a lot of racism. Maybe I have been discriminated against, but I wouldn't say that it was open against me. But I think it's how you take it. And if someone wants to be racist against me, then that is up to them. But I won't take it in that way. As far as I'm concerned, you seize the moment, you do what you can. You don't play the race card unless you really need to.
I'm going to open this up to both.
I think I'd like to come back on that slightly in terms of being British and what British actually means. I don't think there's actually a definition for what British actually means, and I think that's part of the problem. I think as a Muslim, I'm constantly asked, and working within counter-terrorism, I'm constantly asked, are you a British Muslim, or are you Muslim first or British first? the question itself is nonsensical, because if I gave you a piece of paper here and I asked every one of you to write 4 points of what you thought British was, I'm sure we'd all come up with 4 different points. And the fact remains now that the government is actually defining what being British is, and the definition of what British is. Majority of the world would sign up to that. So it's not really a definition because it's so wide open. So I think that we need to actually look at what we're talking about when we actually say we're British, and what does it actually mean, and what am I signing up for?
I suppose a British person is, technical term is that they are born in the UK, or that they are born in Britain, which gives them the right to claim that they are British.
But we realise that obviously it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, it goes a lot deeper than that. And the fact that the reason why I say I'm British is because I was born here, yes, but the thing that makes me British is the fact that I live in this environment and I was educated here. That's why I'm a British person. I might look like a person who's ethnic. I don't like the word ethnic, or minority ethnic now, as it's now called. The politically correct term is minority ethnic. I'm a person that lives here. I was educated here, and I think that gives me more right to claim that I'm British than just being born here. And the fact that I conduct my day-to-day life, I would say 99% of the time, I'm a British person.
A question to both of you. Do you think that us as Asians are actually contributing to the problem as opposed to trying to make it better?
I think in all honesty, it comes down to racism that's taken place before. I think one of the comments that was said before is the Pakistani community are more entrepreneurial. The reason they're more entrepreneurial is simply because they experienced racism earlier on when they came here, and thus they reverted to working for themselves. There's always this great comment where they say, I can't work for anybody, or the comment is, I can't work for white people, I've got to work for myself.
Right.
Now that's a brilliant comment, and you've got to see that that's racist in its own right, but what is it stemming from, and why does it appear? I think that's the issue.
Yeah, but don't you think if you made a choice to live in this country and embrace this and make this your home, then you can't use that anymore? I mean, okay, there might have been racism. There is racism, and we know that it exists, and I know that the people that came here 50 years ago probably experienced it a lot more than we do. However, isn't it time to just put the past behind us and move on?
No, I don't think we can put the past behind us. I think that that's a very, 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 very one-siloed way of looking at things.
Wait,
I think you take note of what's happened in history, but you also look at how far you've moved, and that's the acid test. The acid test is, are we still experiencing some of the things that we did 50 years ago? And the truth of that is, yes, we are.
Cameron, you were at the receiving end of racist 118 jokes.
That's right.
Can you tell us about that?
Basically, there's a joke request service that 118 offered, and we were at work, and we were bored, as you are. So we decided to ask for jokes, and then they sent us a couple of stupid ones like, why is George Bush banned from watching TV? Because he keeps pressing the red button.
Okay.
And they were quite funny. And then we got a distasteful joke, which it was very racist, and then we were quite shocked by that.
What was the joke?
Well, the first one that they sent was, what's the difference between E.T. and an Asian? E.T. got the message and went home. And we were just horrified by that, because we're like, 118 sent us that. You've seen the adverts, the acting stupid and stuff like that. And so we carried on. We asked for another couple. And
were you just seeing to see if that was the only racist joke that they had?
Yeah, so we deliberately asked them to send us a racist joke, and then they sent one. They said, how do you stop a Pakistani man from drowning? You take your foot off his head. And and after that, they must have realised their mistake, and they sent automated messages saying 118 does not send jokes of this nature.
They sent you those automated messages right after you received the racist jokes?
Well, a few texts later, when we kept requesting them, they said that we don't send jokes of this nature.
So what did you do? What did you do from there?
Well, from there, because I'm a journalism student, I knew, this was a story, and personally, I'm very passionate about standing up for equal rights, and I'm totally against things like that, so I'm the worst person that they could have sent it to. So I got in touch with my media contacts, and it was a news story by next day.
But Cameron, don't we, as Asians, when we're hanging out with our friends, say jokes like that?
Oh,